I'm here with Dr. Barbara Kahn, Professor of Marketing at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. Barbara, you covered a lot of ground in a short space of time on the shopping revolution. I've got sort of three questions. So one, you talked about two basic principles of marketing. What are they?
So the first principle is the principle of customer value. Okay. And the idea is just in a very competitive market, you have to give the customer something that they care about.
Okay.
And the second principle is the principle of differential advantage. Mm-hmm. Again, in a very competitive market, you have to be better than the competition.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And that second one, so you branded the Kahn Retailing Success Matrix.
Exactly.
Tell us a bit more about that.
So if you take those two concepts together and you talk about what customers want, they want something of value with someone they trust. And so to me, I thought of those as two columns, the product value and then the customer experience. And then the rows where you have to do it better than the competition. And how can you do that better than the competition? You either make it more fun or you take away the pain. And that resulted in a 2x2 matrix that I call the Retailing Success Matrix.
Okay. And then that feeds into your two-quadrant winning strategies. Can you give us some examples of retailers that are adopting that?
Yeah, so in that Kahn Retailing Success Matrix, there's 4 quadrants. Mm-hmm. One is brand and product, and the other is, if I go by columns, brand and product and price. And that's not new. Retailers have known about that for a long time. Mm-hmm. In the other column, customer experience, then I would argue there's a lot more emphasis now on the physical store experience to make that fun or something to make people want to go into the store. And then the bottom quadrant there would be take away the friction, take away the inconvenience of shopping. And those are really what's new and how retailing has changed a lot. So what you have to do to just win just to compete, just to be alive and not be part of a retail apocalypse is to be good enough at all 4 of those quadrants. And what good enough means is what are the customers demanding in your industry, or in your country, in your industry, in your market? What is the minimum or the threshold you have to do to be good enough in all 4 of those quadrants? But to be a winner, you have to be the best at something, good enough at everything else. In the United States, where the market is very, very competitive, you have to take that leadership advantage and leverage that to be good at 2 things. That's what I found. So you have to be good, the best at 2 quadrants and good enough at the other. Mm-hmm. And a really good example of that is actually Walmart. Because Walmart has been the world's best retailer or the biggest retailer for a long time, and they usually competed on low price, operational excellence. But in this new competitive world, being the best at that, which they still are, I would argue, isn't good enough. They now had to be the best at frictionless as well because of the changing expectation that Amazon put on the market.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And just to finish off, can you give us an example of a digitally native vertical brand and how are they competing in these
So
two
these
quadrants?
are very small brands, but there's a lot of attention to them. And what they're doing is they're coming in a lot of times to a millennial segment, although it doesn't always stay that. They usually address something in a millennial segment, and then that broaden. So examples of digitally native vertical brands are brands that start online and then they go direct to their end user. So famous examples in the United States are Warby Parker, Casper, Bonobos, Glossier. What's interesting about them, they're still small. You know, they're getting bigger, but they're still small. But they're changing the way people think about retail. So they start online, and because they start online and go direct, they have a lot of customer experience. Now, what's very interesting about them now is they're starting to open physical stores. But because they have all that data from when they got to know the customer online, the way they open their physical stores is very different from traditional retail. One thing that typically happens is their showrooms. The second thing is the way they assort the product is different. So I can give you an example with Birchbox in the cosmetics business again. Most beauty retailers will organize their product by brand. And they do that for reasons, I think, that have to do with the brands and the channels. So they'll have, you know, like a L'Oreal brand or a Estee Lauder brand or whatever they are. But what Birchbox found is that the way their consumers shopped online was if they were going for lipstick, they would go across brands and just look at different lipsticks. So when they opened up their store, they opened up a place for you to try on because they understood how important that was. And then they organized the store by product category, not by brand. So that's just an example of once you see how people really do search by looking at what they're doing online, it might really change how you organize the store.
Great. So you're very passionate about it. So, Barbara, thank you very much.
Sure,
Thanks for
sure.
sharing your insights.
Sure.
Okay.